folks got offered the best service, the best cost. And out of, I don't know, 100 notices that we sent out in terms of off of a mailing list, we again only had one response. Yes, it's absolutely amazing. We thought for sure it would have a few responses to do some comparative shopping, but we did not.
It's a very small segment of the industry.
Yeah.
So is there any more discussion on this topic? Because there is a motion on the floor for $249,076.
Thank you.
Dick,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to reduce the overall budget number that Dale put out by $8,270.
So you're amending the motion.
That is correct.
Is there a second to that?
Let's see,
To basically not fund the LRPC.
So you're reducing it by,
So I think the number was 8501 in the spreadsheet, and reduce that number by 231 from the updated information that Dale provided in the subcommittee report. If I have read that right.
so it's 8270.
Correct.
Is there, you seconded that, right, Kevin?
No,
No.
No, Kevin,
no one did.
Is there a second to
I'll
that?
second it for discussion. Yeah.
Is there any more discussion on this topic? What we're talking about is amending the total budget down by the, 8270. Okay, so we'll vote on that. Be a hand vote. All those in favor means you're voting for amending the budget, the total budget down by 8270. All those in favor, raise your hands. All those opposed? So it's 10 to 2 opposed. Now let's go back to the original motion. All those in favor of the $249,076 for this total planning and land use budget, raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, 10 to 2. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you guys
Thank
for coming
you.
in.
thank you. Good night.
Next topic is tax collector, TCTX as we call it, for short.
I'm going to present on behalf of Kevin and myself. We sat on the subcommittee. Denise Gonyard's the town representative, department head, and Jennifer Mooney sat in on the meeting also. We have presented a list of bullet points, and similar to how Dale presented on the previous budget, I will go through line by line if anybody needs to, but prefer just to deal with the bullet points as presented. Typical with all departments, department managers, the selectmen have not recommended increases. Overall, department employees are budgeted at 2.8% increase, represent about 3,500 above last year. Above last year. This department also has lost a part-time employee. This individual continues to give some volunteer time, and Denise is trying to find a way, because she commutes from Franklin, trying to find a way to cover her expenses. She doesn't have that ability at the moment, but that is just something that she commented on so that we can understand the value of what she's getting. The overtime line was reduced. Retirement costs have dropped, and similar to what Dale had talked about with the telephones, we probably wanted to get a global view on that too, because the department managers are simply using a number that's being presented to them. And so we're not really talking about the whole impact to the budget overall. We're just taking a number that's being presented. In this particular department, the health insurance costs were the biggest issue, 24.2% increase overall. One of the large drivers was a change of employee status from no coverage for the health insurance to family coverage. That along with the other health insurance increases. Next item, we need to discuss a little bit more on this. Within the line item, the software license budget was budgeted at $4,800. When we sat in the meeting, Denise believed that was increasing, and she believed it was going up to $5,200. When came in tonight, she said that numbers have actually increased up to $5,800.
58.
Yeah, instead of the 4,800 that she was expecting, she thought it was going to be 52, and the actual that she received now is 5,800. So that's an item we're going to have to talk about a little bit more tonight too, I believe. They continue to keep costs in there for record restoration, and that cost, or that budgeted item, also covers current records, and that's a difficult task, trying to use the budgeted money to try to bring everything up to 100% up to speed. They're doing the best they can with that. Publishing notices, it's a small dollar amount, but it increased from $1 to $25. Most other general cost items were either flatlined or reduced. And again, same comment, we discussed phones. It's a number that I believe Scott provides to the department, or Scott through the select men, or however that works. And we're only going on a specific cost given to the department, and we'll probably want to get some discussion going on that.
The health insurance increase, that was a question I had when I read through the budget. Why is that 24%? I didn't remember
The reason why
Every
he did bring it up, but obviously, the health insurance costs are rising every single
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
But the majority of that is because an employee of ours in that department went from no benefits, no
Okay.
health insurance, to now carrying a family, which obviously is gonna be a lot
okay.
of money, so that's gonna be.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, so we can comment on this budget, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the budget for this department in the amount of $378,000, $339 as submitted by the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
Gotta be quick, Ken. Gotta be quick.
Why don't we, just since I see you asked for other people to comment, one of them was retirement costs have dropped. We will ask Jeff to comment on that, and then we would ask Scott to comment on the phone costs. Should we do those two first to get their input?
Sure. Because of changes to the,
Sorry.
Dale.
because of changes to the retirement system on the benefit side and the increase in the percentage that the employees pay, there's actually 3 different groups, or 3 different rates, actually 4, but 3 that affect the town. One is Group 1, the regular employees, the other is Group 2, the police, and Group 2, fire department. And they each have their own set of rates for the employee and the employer. The state never supplemented the regular town employees' retirement system. They did police, fire, and teachers, but never the regular employees. So when they stopped funding that, it did not affect the retirement, the town's contribution to the retirement for those employees. It stayed the same. But the legislature had those employees pay an additional amount towards their retirement, so it ended up reducing the percentage that the town paid for those employees. So we do have a cost savings on that side. It doesn't offset the increases on the police and fire side. However, that's why in most of the departments you will see a slight reduction in that retirement amount, is because of that about 0.5% reduction in the rate, the town's contribution to those employees. Any questions? Yes, Fred?
Sorry, I do, it's actually not on that, it's on the, just, I don't know if Denise made this note of the full-time employee made a change to their insurance. You know, there's a lot of money there. Is there any discussion at any level about the given an additional flat rate if somebody opts out of insurance? Like, is there a cost
We do
benefit?
do that, yes, and that employee did do that.
All right.
But, I believe it's 35% of the savings. So whatever the town saves on, by them opting off the town's plan, the employee gets 35% of that.
Is that what happened here, is she went from opt-out back on?
Back
went
on,
Full-time
correct.
to part-time, or vice versa?
Well, she's always been full-time.
I was gonna say, there's
But-
no one gone from part-time to full-time.
Her spouse no longer carried health insurance, so she had to get it through the town instead of his insurance. So she
So
went
we're
from
effectively picking up
opt-off-
65% now, where before we were,
Pardon?
we're effectively picking up 65% because we were paying 35% before since she had opted out.
Correct, actually, yes. Yeah.
I wasn't aware that we did that as a town, that someone, if they opt out, they just get a flat pay raise of sorts. That doesn't happen in private industry. Why do we do that?
May I answer that?
Certainly.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that. I'm not saying that every single business out there does that, but a lot of businesses do have an opt-out clause, and the reason being is because it still is cheaper.
The insurance is so expensive, they're trying to get people off the
Right,
insurance.
because in other words, a family, and I'm making this up, a family plan for 4 or 5 people might cost an employer $25,000. It's still cheaper for them to pay 35% of that for the person, so it becomes a discouragement. So I'm not
arguing that. I'm asking the question from the standpoint of either they need insurance or they don't need insurance, or they choose not to have it. Why do we pay for something that,
so that it is a discouragement from them taking the full package. That's why. That's why any business does that.
In
well,
the
I've
past,
never
they-
encountered in private.
Or an
I mean,
encouragement
you're saying
not to
you
take
have,
it.
I have not.
Right.
An
It
incentive
isn't,
not
well-
to take it.
it's an incentive not to take it.
I'll also comment that I worked for an employer who did give me money for not taking health insurance.
Yeah, I
But
think
what you'll
the,
find, Dave, is that if both spouses are provided health insurance, they will both take it so that they get basically double coverage. Because if one insurance company doesn't pay, then the next one will. So,
One takes primary
correct.
coverage.
But the town, say both spouses had family plans because there was no incentive not to. They're gonna save a little bit because Plan A has a deductible, so Plan B will cover that deductible. So the employee benefits a little bit by having double coverage. So the only way that you can incentivize them to not take the double coverage is to give them something. So they're willing to take something that covers their costs of not being double covered.
Now, to speak specifically to my coverage, is if my wife works and has full-time coverage, my company will not cover her under my plan. She has to be covered under her own plan. If my wife is not working, does not have coverage, I can cover her under my plan, but I pay the cost. Most private industry does things very similar to that as opposed to an incentive. I'm hearing other
Right.
people tell me differently, they see things differently. This seems like this can be a very expensive, and I don't know whether it is across the board. We're only, we're talking about one specific department, one specific person, but I don't know how much we pay out in incentive. You know, in other words, what I'm saying is, if somebody gets insurance someplace else, goes to another job, and they get their own insurance someplace else, you know, they shouldn't be, or we shouldn't be penalized in any way, shape, or form as a town. I don't see why we're doing that.
Gus is going to give you an answer.
Well, Jeff, a couple questions, or basically comments. How long has this policy been for the opt-out in the town of Guilford?
3 years, 4 years?
So they never got an opt-out prior to that?
No.
And as a result, how many people are taking that?
We had 3 or 4 take advantage of that when that was put in place.
In the discussions we've had in the past on this, it's sort of human nature, I think, that the people don't care when it costs them nothing, and particularly in health insurance. That's why we're in such trouble with it. So what you're finding is that it was given to them, so they took it, whether they got a benefit from it or not. And so the town was saying, okay, if I can stop them from taking it, even if I have to pay them something, I'm still saving money.
And what
I
you're
can
saying,
understand
Dave,
where you're coming from, but I think what you're dealing with is human beings that say, hey, it's a perk, I'm going to take it.
What is the contribution to health insurance right now, percentage-wise?
5%?
It ranges from 6 to 10.
Right.
Is
Right.
it,
But it covers whatever they're eligible for. So if they have a family, the town will pay 90 to 95% of a family plan. Unlike you, where your business says, we're only going to cover you. You want to cover your spouse and your kids, you can put them on your plan, but you're going to pay for that. So, it wouldn't, there's no incentive.
What is the driver for only the 5 or 6% deduction by the individual?
It used to be 0.
Yeah, it's been, the drive is to go to 10, right? And it's just been working its way up.
Well,
It's still trivial, but it's better than it was.
right. I apologize, Mr. Chairman. When we negotiated the contract with the DPW employees, they automatically went to 10% immediately. We got them as part of the negotiations. The police are paying how much right now?
7.5?
7.5. And then our non-union employees are at 5 right now this year, or will they be going to, they're at 6 this year?
Going to 6.5, is that somewhere?
Yeah.
Currently at 6, going to 6.5.
Right, because again, Dave, the previous boards had it at 0.
Denise, I haven't ignored you, but we made a rule last year that we'll let you speak before we vote, but sort of after we're far enough along.
Well, I kind of want to get on this insurance discussion because I'd like to.
We'll make sure you get a chance to say that.
No, I'm just trying to understand it from an overall perspective. When I start hearing things that just seem to be out of whack from what other things are.
Pretty
you know,
generous.
when you look at things from a, what was once true that's no longer true, meaning that the pendulum has swung pretty far on government employees and their salaries and their benefits compared to private sector. There's a disparity there, and I'm just asking the question, what do we do to bring it back in?
And that's
To some sort of balance.
It's absolutely, Dave, a valid question and a statement, and that's exactly why the Board of Selectmen in the last 4 years have looked at all of that, and we're the ones that have raised it from, again, 0%. Now we're raising that up. We told all the employees that eventually they'll be up to 10%, and that's why we took it, again, in the negotiations, the police and DPW got rid of that. We got rid of the health insurance that this town was providing for the part-time employees. We were giving full medical coverage to part-time employees. Again, previous boards had voted that in. We got rid of that. So again, yes,
Still pretty generous.
still, without a shadow of a doubt, but at the same time, these town employees, a lot has been taken away from them.
Question. Gus, when did the part-time employees start getting the full-time medical?
You'll have to, do you remember?
Yeah, same time as the opt-off percentage, 2008.
Yeah,
So
but
not that long, not that long.
now, it only lasted a short time, right?
Yeah, since I've been back.
Right.
It was done on a prorated basis.
Yes, but still,
But that's again. why
but
we
it's
got rid of
gone
it.
now,
It's
right?
gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is the right thing.
And I think that last year saved over $50,000, just that.
47.
It'd be 3 years ago.
So Jeff, we've always offered full family plans. How long has?
Whatever the employee is eligible for. You know, they don't get a family plan if they're not, you know,
They don't
if
have
they're
a family.
single.
I understand that.
Right, yeah, well, yeah, that's
But that's been
been
traditional.
since, yeah,
Full
since long
family
before I
plan.
got here.
In other words, the employee doesn't pay for just their own portion.
Correct. The town pays for whatever they're eligible for, or a
And is-
percentage of whatever they're eligible for.
And that's usual in all towns, in cities, full family plans.
Not
Not
really.
every town, but it is, most towns I've seen do that. Sometimes they differ the copay, for instance. I know some towns, for, say, a single plan, the employee has to pay $500. For a family plan, the employee may have to pay $2,000 a year or whatever. So that the people with the family plan will contribute a higher amount than the single person does on a percentage basis. But usually the municipality or the school district will pay for some of the family plan, portion of the family plan.
My wife was a school teacher for several years in different districts around the state. In each and every district, she got coverage at different rates. At her last school district, actually, they paid 100% for her. They wanted to put me in, and this is pre-children, so you take them out of the equation. At each and every school district, I was welcome onto the plan, but I had to pay 100% at the town's discounted rate. There was no family plan. Family plan was, we can cover you, but you're paying. And that's kind of, people I've talked to and I've asked this question, that's kind of the way it goes quite a bit in New Hampshire, and I think this is over generous. If you want to cover family, I have no problem with that, but maybe have the employee contribution to the non-employee portion of the healthcare plan a little bit higher as an incentive, so if their spouse, husband, or wife gets a job that offers full coverage, you know, they're gonna look at which one's better and which one's more cost effective, and maybe it's a bit better to take the opt-out and go with the spouse's plan. I have no problem with the opt-out, it seems so it's saving us money at the current system.
Right. It's something for the selectmen to take up.
Absolutely.
Any other comments? If not, I'll let Denise speak. That's coming from the audience.
Yeah, I only have 25 years' experience with the health insurance in the town, so I can tell you that they've had an opt-out plan for about 15 years. So I had it when I was an employee, before I was an elected official. They always encouraged us not to take it. I didn't take the health insurance for over 10 years here, which is a good cost savings. And the other thing I wanted to mention is I have 2 employees in my department, full-time employees, that do the opt-out plan, and have been doing it, one for 6 years and one for 7, and it saved the town over $190,000. And so I'd like to say that's the positive twist to healthcare and what my department has saved the taxpayers over the last several years. So it has been a really good savings, and we've been very fortunate to be able to provide that. So I just want to give that information as far as the health cost in the department. We still have one that we're still saving money on, so we're fortunate to have that.
Mr. Chairman, I did want to thank you, Denise, because I wanted that information out. The opt-out was not just 3 years ago.
No, I took advantage of it for 10 years. And it's a good savings to the taxpayers, and it is a good, back then, I could have had my husband's insurance and my insurance, and just like you said, had double coverage, whatever one didn't cover, the other one would. But it was a nice incentive. Dave Karen actually put that into place to encourage us not to take it. It was a great cost savings for the town, so.
Thank you.
Dave?
I
Oh,
wanted to move off the insurance unless anybody else had that.
I'm good with that.
Look, we did have the motion on the table. The question, the other question that's still not answered yet, and I'd probably like to address this to Gus also, is the software costs or the licensing costs has come in over $1,000 from what Denise had anticipated.
If I could explain that just a
Yeah.
bit too, Dave. This is actually new budget line item to my department. Jeff previously carried it through the IT department, and so I didn't know actual costs until I got my bill, which was the day after we met with Dave and Kevin. And looking at it quickly, I said, oh my gosh, I'm already overspent for this year with actual costs. So I quickly sent out an email. Then looking back, there are only 3 items that come out of this, and I can explain those items if that helps, the $1,000. We have one software package called the Blue Book, and when you come register your cars, and we put in all this information in the computer, out of your VIN number comes the list price of your vehicle and the weight of your vehicle, which is what your registration is based on, along with the year of it. Without that Blue Book, we're taking a guess at what your list price is. And I can tell you, most people, when I say, did you buy the limited or the base model? She's the tax collector. The base model, of course. So it's a source of revenue that we would lose if I was counting on some other way of getting this information. We used to get the hard books, and we used to be able to look them up. They don't print them anymore. So it's part of our software package. It does pay for itself, if you will. And so that comes out of there. Our registration package is through Interware. It's called QuickWorks. That's where all of our point of sale, dog licensing, and all those come from, and that's about a $3,000 cost. And then the other is our antiquated tax system. We haven't changed tax systems in how long, Jeff? I'm on the same one I started with 25 years ago, okay? And that's a $2,200 cost, so I'm not asking for any increase, but I didn't realize what the cost was because it didn't used to be in my budget, and now it is, and so I'd like to cover the actual cost and ask you to support the $1,000 difference that I didn't know about.
Is that reflected in Gus's motion for approval?
No.
$1,000?
No.
Does that have to go through the selectmen first?
No, well, it's, obviously this has come before you as a board of as a budget committee, and you guys would have to make that decision if you wanted to increase.
I know, I guess, could we only vote on what was recommended by by the selectmen, or could we just go and add this in ourselves?
Well, you could, just like Skip did a little while ago, tried to amend it, you could still
You
amend
could add
it.
the $1,000.
So can I make a
$1,000.
motion to add $1,000 to that line item for this purpose?
That's an amendment to the motion on the table.
Yeah, to Gus's motion.
I'll second it.
Someone write this down, that this man voted for an increase in the budget.
Technology.
Turn that camera on yourself.
Gus,
He's got me over there.
Just for discussion.
Did you put the camera on me,
For discussion,
Dale?
he hasn't
It's
voted for it
technology
yet.
and
Don't
computer
discourage him.
stuff.
Oh, that's true, you got me, you're right.
It was just for discussion.
You should ask for
It's
10.
because it's me, right, Skip?
You should ask for 10. He would say, I'm only gonna give you 5.
Yeah,
Well, I actually know from firsthand
I'm pretty
experience
frugal.
what happens when you let software licenses go and the server crashes and you try to call tech support.
We're not there.
You are so screwed.
Yeah. That means you're gonna be staying in my office a whole long time.
Oh no,
'Cause it
nobody
trickles
will.
down.
Nobody will come and help you.
Yeah.
I thought you always be.
No, she meant would all be in the
You'll be
long
paying the
lines
price.
when it came to pay, the lines would be backed
I
up.
thought you always used the base price of cars. I didn't realize you took them up with a VIN number where you include all the options.
He's
Well-
one of those guys.
Yeah.
Coming out
Yeah.
with the base model.
My
We don't talk-
$300,000
we don't talk about
vehicle.
his cars.
Oh no, it's the base model BMW Gold package.
You're not thinking Model Ts anymore, Dick.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
Okay, you and I decided we would never talk about cars at the budget meeting, right?
My Donald Trump Gold Edition, it's the base model.
Vinyl seats.
Well, when you buy a BMW, the base model does include all those things. I know too, right?
Anything else,
You
Jim?
play your
I'm dead. I can count the holes.
But really, it's just the 3 items that come out of there, and like I said, next year, I anticipate now what's coming in and out of that line item, so.
Okay, so we ready to vote?
No,
No.
I just,
It was Fred and then
Yeah.
Ray. All right, Ray.
and Lady.
And
Denise,
Skip.
under meals and travel expenses,
Mhm.
What does that entail? Because there's a town car that we've been told that's committed to the town hall.
On occasion, right, yeah. It's for conferences and the training that we have to go to. The car's not always available, so we have to plan for that. And usually when I go to conference, it's a week at a time. So to take the car out of commission from another department for a week. I haven't done that, so.
Natalie would do it a lot anyway.
Yeah, because the conferences are always in the fall, so you'll see at the end of the year that it does get spent out.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And these conferences are required by RSA, as town clerk and tax collector, that we have to go to the annual conference, and it's part of our certification to continuing education. It covers the whole department. It's not just my training.
Well, Fred had it. Is this on this, Gus?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to get back for a second, just for a matter of protocol, there's an amendment, and then there was a second. Shouldn't we vote on that before we go to a different line? Before we comment on a different line?
Yes, I think you're right. Absolutely. Good point. Because that was only on the one line, which we've now
Correct, because there may be,
switched topics on.
somebody else might make an amendment to increase another line or decrease another line.
Yeah. So let's vote on, that's a good point, Gus. Let's vote on the $1,000, the amendment to increase the budget by $1,000 due to the software budget. All those in favor say, or raise your hand. All but one.
Now, Dale, did you get me on camera for the one time I raised my hand to raise
Hold on,
expense?
I want to get this on YouTube. Hold on.
11 to 1.
Yeah. And I represent the majority of the board, and that's how the board voted, so.
But I didn't present it either.
All right, now we can move on to the discussion round. Thanks, Gus.
So does Ray have to repeat all that? Or?
No.
No.
Yeah, right. So on the
Croc TV.